Hello, welcome to our Driving Change informational webinar. Thank you for your interest in the Driving Change competition. We are pleased to have this opportunity to share with you information about this initiative. Your presenters today will be David Asai, Senior Director of Science Education here at HHMI, and me, Robin Broughton, who is presenting on behalf of the Driving Change team, Andrew Kwan, Makita Richardson, and Sarah Simmons. First, you will hear from David, who will provide thoughtful insight and perspective as he highlights key aspects of the Driving Change initiative. After, I will follow up with information on the Driving Change competition timeline, and then spend time discussing common questions we've received in response to the program announcement. We've received a number of questions from many of you, and we thank you for them all. It is your questions that have helped shape this webinar and provided the basis for a frequently asked questions, or FAQ document that we've constructed, which can be found on the Driving Change webpage. I will point you to where you can find the FAQ at the end of this webinar. So now I'll turn it over to David.
Thanks, Robin. And I really appreciate this opportunity to speak with you about the HHMI Driving Change initiative. I just wanted to make a few comments around 5 ideas. We seek culture change with respect to diversity and inclusion. The scientific community has long recognized the importance of a diverse population of scientists. And we know several things. We know that a diverse group of problem solvers is best positioned to tackle problems, and that the harder the problem, the greater the benefit accrued from diversity. We know that diversity is an empty gesture unless the scientific and educational culture is inclusive. People need to feel that they belong and that the system expects them to be successful. We know that for far too long, persons from some groups have been excluded from science. This exclusion has been intentional and systematic. And therefore, to end the exclusion and to pivot to inclusion, our approach must also be intentional and systematic. Diversity supported by genuine inclusion is too important and too urgent to leave to happenstance. We know that today many students from historically excluded groups are entering college intending to study in the STEM disciplines, but that an alarmingly large proportion of this talent leaves STEM, with much of the leaving occurring early in their undergraduate experience. And we know that the disproportionate departure from STEM by persons from groups historically excluded from science is not simply due to lack of interest nor lack of preparation. All of these observations lead to the conclusion that in order to staunch the loss of talent, we must change the culture of science and science education. And it's for this reason we developed the Driving Change initiative. The second point I wanted to make very briefly is that research universities have an important opportunity to lead culture change. The Driving Change initiative is aimed at the 255 R1 and R2 universities that offer bachelor's degrees in STEM disciplines. We are focused on research universities because these institutions have the capacity, community, and commitment to change science. Research universities are selective institutions and already have a diverse community of well-qualified and talented students who want to study STEM. Because of their mission, research universities have the capacity to do groundbreaking science and the obligation to engage their students in the learning and doing of that science. And again, because of their mission, research universities have not only the capacity, but also the commitment and obligation to lead. The nation looks to research universities to push the frontiers of scientific discovery and educational effectiveness. The Driving Change initiative is, I believe, a terrific opportunity to lead. The third point I wanted to talk about is a very quick overview of the Driving Change initiative, and Robin will go into more details about this. So the Driving Change initiative has three key elements. Driving Change grantee institutions are expected to successfully pursue three goals. Each grantee will design, implement, and assess programs aimed at creating a significantly more inclusive learning environment for all students, especially with an eye toward closing the disparity gaps between students from excluded and non-excluded groups. The second goal, the second expectation of grantees, is that each grantee will also learn from the UMBC Meyerhoff Scholars Program and design their own student-centered program that will honor the underlying values of and achieve the outcomes of the Meyerhoff program. And third, each grantee university will become an active participant in a learning community comprising other Driving Change universities in which institutions will share their ideas, their efforts, and their outcomes. The fourth point I wanted to make has to do with the self-study. The self-study drives Driving Change. Prior to submitting the proposal, the university will complete an institutional self-study aimed at providing a deep understanding of where the institution is today and what it needs to do to become more inclusive. How does the institution define itself? What is the current learning environment? What aspects of the current environment contribute to disparities and exclusion of some students? What has the institution done to increase diversity, and what is the effectiveness of these efforts? And how will the university build on what has been learned as it designs its Driving Change programs? And finally, just a word or two about the letter of intent. The letter of intent is your opportunity to demonstrate to the reviewers of the letters that you will make inclusion a central value of your institution. This means a clear commitment to achieving the goals of Driving Change, a commitment to conducting a meaningful self-study beginning now, a commitment to seeing the application process all the way through by submitting a thoughtful proposal in January 2021, a commitment to organizing the financial, staffing, and administrative resources to reflect the centrality of inclusion, and a commitment to participating in open, reflective sharing in the learning community of universities. Driving Change is about serious and lasting culture change with respect to inclusion of all students. Culture change is continuous and not an end point. It's frequently intangible, it's often incremental, and it is not formulaic. A successful letter of intent will communicate your willingness to embrace the challenge and your readiness to engage in the hard work of reflective culture change. Please don't take up a slot if you're not ready or serious. The reviewers will be asked to winnow the pool of interested schools to the subset of schools that we believe are ready and committed. Choosing a subset of interested schools means that other schools, perhaps just as interested, will not be invited. And this places an added responsibility on those who submit a letter. Your submission of a letter of intent should be more than just a placeholder to be in the competition. Your submission of a letter of intent is a statement that you are already engaged in this work, that you are committed to achieving the goals of Driving Change, that you are ready to effect culture change, and that you will expend the time and effort required to submit a meaningful proposal.
So thanks, David, for highlighting those very key points regarding this initiative. To extend David's comments and discuss a few more details, I'd like to start first by reminding you that the goal of the Driving Change initiative is to drive genuine and lasting culture change on research university campuses. So undergraduate students from all backgrounds, particularly those who belong to historically excluded groups, will excel in STEM and graduate from college well prepared to pursue advanced degrees and eventually assume leadership roles in STEM. We expect to award up to 6 grants, with awards beginning as early as fall 2021. Each grant will provide up to $500,000 per year for 5 years and will be non-renewable. These grants are intended to provide startup funds to assist the grantee institution as it launches its Driving Change program. The grant will not pay for student tuition and fees, nor will it provide indirect costs to the grantee institutions. As David mentioned, the Driving Change initiative encourages a comprehensive approach to culture change with 3 key elements. Because these anchor the initiative, they are worth discussing in a bit more detail. One element focuses on the development of a coherent set of activities that provides a robust framework to support student success in STEM. Each grantee campus will create its version of the University of Maryland, Baltimore County Meyerhoff Scholars Program. A strengths-based program, the Meyerhoff Scholars Program is a powerful example of a student-centered approach. While it is expected that applicants understand the rationale for the values underlying each of the Meyerhoff components and work to honor them in their program design, the Driving Change initiative is most interested in the outcomes achieved by the Meyerhoff Scholars Program. And you can learn more information on those outcomes in the program announcement. Genuine culture change requires a systems approach comprising multiple strategies that together drive campus culture change. For lasting change, the student-centered activities cannot operate in isolation. Instead, they must be implemented in the context of a campus learning environment that is inclusive of all students, which is the focus of the next element. David highlighted the self-study each campus will have to complete before submitting their grant proposal. The findings of that self-study will identify practices and behaviors that should change in order to achieve greater inclusivity in the learning environment for all students, especially those students who are from groups historically excluded from STEM. Examples of creating a more inclusive learning environment might include the overhaul of the STEM curriculum, restructuring the content and delivery of the STEM Gateway courses, and training STEM faculty in the skills of inclusive teaching and culturally aware mentoring. The final element reaches beyond the individual grantee university by convening a learning community of institutions that are engaged in driving change. The Driving Change learning community will meet regularly throughout the 5 years of the initiative to share their aspirations, challenges, and progress. There are 2 additional points that we want to emphasize regarding these elements. First, there is no hierarchy here. No single element is more important than the others. Second, HHMI expects that all 3 elements will be addressed in your program design with an understanding that the scope and scale of your proposed program will be based on the specific needs and aspirations of your institution. David discussed the types of questions that you will be asked to address in your self-study, which can be found in the program announcement. The purpose of the self-study is for you to explore and reflect upon your institutional context prior to embarking on the design and implementation of a Driving Change program. The self-study also offers the opportunity for you to consider carefully whether your institution is ready to engage in this work. Most importantly, it is expected that the self-study will be used to help your university shape your proposal such that there is evident alignment between the self-study findings and the design of your proposed program. Outlined here, which can also be found on the webpage, is the timeline for the Driving Change competition. The letters of intent David discussed are due February 7th, 2020. HHMI will assess the level of institutional commitment communicated through the letter to identify the finalist institutions that will be invited to submit proposals. Finalist institutions will be notified in March 2020, at which time they will be provided access to the proposal template. Each finalist will have nearly a year to conduct its self-study and learn more about the Driving Change initiative in preparation for submission of full proposals. Teams from finalist universities will be invited to attend a meeting here at HHMI headquarters in Chevy Chase, Maryland, from April 15th through April 17th, 2020. And we encourage you to save this date on your calendars now. At that meeting, participants will have the opportunity to learn more about the Meyerhoff Scholars Program and explore systems change models to help identify strategies to increase inclusion in the learning environment for all students. Travel, accommodations, and meals will be covered by HHMI. Finalist proposals will be due January 29th, 2021. And invited institutions submitting full proposals will be evaluated on their readiness to engage in genuine culture change with respect to diversity and inclusion, and we expect awards will be made as early as September 2021. Now, on to some of your most frequently asked questions. I will be addressing the 5 questions that we've received the most with respect to the Driving Change Initiative. The first question, what groups are considered historically excluded in STEM? The Driving Change Initiative focuses on students belonging to groups historically excluded from science, including racial, ethnic, and other underrepresented groups in the sciences, including persons with disabilities. It is recognized that underrepresentation can vary from setting to setting. Applicant institutions may include individuals from racial or ethnic groups or individuals who come from a social, cultural, or educational environment that have been and are historically marginalized or underrepresented at the post-secondary educational level and specifically supported by the proposing institution's policies and resources. Next question, what disciplines do you consider as STEM? STEM includes disciplines in the life sciences, physical sciences, engineering, mathematics, computer science, and the health sciences. A comprehensive listing of disciplines can be found at the link on the bottom of this slide. Given the high and very high research priorities of eligible institutions, each applicant should determine the involvement of the faculty, departments, offices, and programs in the proposed activities toward driving institutional change. Informed by the findings from your institutional self-study, the focus and scope of each proposed driving change program should be based upon your institution's understanding of its environment and the areas most critically in need of transforming to better support those students who are being left behind or leaving the sciences. Who should we designate as our program director? The program director is responsible for submitting your full proposal. The program director should be significantly involved in the institutional self-study, knowledgeable in models of system change in STEM, and committed to learning about the UMBC Meyerhoff Scholars Program. Should your institution receive a Driving Change grant, the program director will be expected to take ownership, bear responsibility, and demonstrate leadership in developing and implementing the Driving Change program in collaboration with the core leadership team. He or she should have appropriate experience in research, education, and grant administration. They should hold a full-time position that demonstrates institutional commitment to their role within the institution. The program director will be expected to formally contribute to the vision, policy-making decisions, continuous learning, and implementation of strategies to improve the institution's work to support student learning. And finally, the program director will be expected to serve as the principal contact and the liaison between the institution and HHMI throughout the 5-year grant period. In the student-centered element, wherein the applicant institution creates its own version of the Meyerhoff Scholars Program, is the goal to replicate or adapt all aspects of the Meyerhoff Scholars Program. It is critical that applicant institutions take the time to learn and understand the rationale for each of the Meyerhoff Scholar Program components and work to honor the values underlying each of them. However, as reflected in the Driving Change program announcement, we are most interested in the outcomes that have been achieved by the Meyerhoff Scholars Program. Thus, we encourage you and your team to think about designing a comprehensive institutional program that achieves similar outcomes to the Meyerhoff Scholars Program at your institution. Should we apply for the Driving Change Initiative or the Inclusive Excellence 3 initiative, or both? The two initiatives, Inclusive Excellence and Driving Change, are distinct from each other, with each initiative having specific goals and expectations. An eligible university may submit both a letter of intent for the Driving Change Initiative and a pre-proposal for the Inclusive Excellence 3 initiative. Please carefully assess the focus of each initiative and determine how one or both initiatives would potentially best serve the needs and goals of your institution. While there are similarities between the two initiatives, the demands of the anticipated investments of your institution, particularly with respect to time and resource, differ. In addition, developing thoughtful and comprehensive submissions for each competition is likely to be a significant effort. Before we conclude, I would like to orient you to our Driving Change webpage, where everything that has been discussed in this informational webinar can be found. Hot buttons that link to the Driving Change program announcement can be found in multiple places throughout the webpage. The program announcement collapses into a single PDF, the same information that is distributed across each of these 5 tabs. A central space where you can efficiently access all key documents is located here in the Program Documents box. You'll note that it is here where a PDF of our frequently asked questions lives. The Driving Change FAQ is a living document that is updated regularly as new questions arise. We encourage you to check this resource regularly throughout the Driving Change competition. If on the web page or in the FAQ you can't find the answers you are looking for, please continue to contact us with any of your questions and/or comments by sending an email to drivingchange@hhmi.org. And with that, we will now conclude the Driving Change informational webinar. Thank you for taking the time to view and listen to this webinar. And thank you for your desire to participate in driving genuine and lasting change at your institutions.
Thank you.